Hello, book lovers, readers, and writers. I am Maddie Dalrymple, the Indy author, and this is the first episode of what I plan to be an ongoing series called What I Learned, where I ask authors to answer two questions related to their latest book. And I am here today with Donna Huston Murray. Hey, Donna, how are you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing great, thank you. So, to give our fellow book lovers a little background on you, Donna Huston Murray's cozy mystery series features an amateur sleuth, much like herself, a DIY headmaster's wife with a troubling interest in crime. The Gin Barnes Mystery, for Better or Worse, was a finalist for the National Indie Excellence Award for Mysteries, and the first two novels in the Laura Beck Mystery Crime series won honorable mention in genre fiction from Writer's Digest. And her latest book, Stranger Danger, just launched. And so today, on What I Learned, I have two questions for Donna about Stranger Danger. What did you learn from your latest book that you'd like to share with your fellow authors? And what did you learn from your latest book that you'd like to share with your fellow readers? And so, Donna, let's start out with your fellow authors. What did you learn from Stranger Danger?
You made me think about my method, and I realized that I learned something from Donald Westlake, who wrote as Richard Stark back in the 40s, and I loved those books. And what I learned from him was to have other people in the book reflect on your main character. What Richard Stark did was he went back. He had a thief who was very violent and scary named Parker. And for half the book, they would have Parker's viewpoint, but the next quarter of the book, they would have his victim's viewpoint. And what it did was it rounded out Parker as a, first of all, scary person and just enhanced the whole persona. And then the last quarter of the book was what was going on in Parker's head. And by then, you're just so invested that it's really exciting. Another thing he did was in pacing, I realized he used it to slow down the dramatic scenes. He would stop and describe more detail, and you got so antsy. Like if he's trying to open a safe and the police are circling the block, you get crazy because you're just waiting for the police to come back and will he get out of there in time? It's really a wonderful use of description. Whereas recently I was reading Lisa Scottolini, and in the beginning of her book, she described the Philadelphia Roundhouse for a page and a half. And as a reader, I'm thinking, I don't need this. I want to know what's happening. You know, not anything against Lisa Scottolini. She's got a tremendous following. But for me, I would like to describe in more of a short story fashion, evoking something that people can identify with easily and fill in the rest themselves. So what that means is I need more plot, and I still write short books.
So, what did you think was different? Did you feel like the way those descriptions were used in the Parker books, where you're describing the detail of trying to break into the safe, did you find that effective? And if you did, in what way was it different?
It was very effective to slow it down at that point. And every writer has to do the same thing at the end of any book. The temptation is, oh, get it over with. They tell them what happened. But you're reading the book physically. And if it's too fast, it's like getting a bucket of ice water. It's just too sudden. So that what you have to make yourself do is slow everything down so that at least the reading experience is longer and the satisfaction is greater. What I do in addition to that is I write the Lauren Beck books in present tense. So to my mind, the reader's seeing it happen in real time, which is something that I think really helps a lot. It helps for the mystery too, because Lauren doesn't know anything more than you do. With the Parker books, I don't think it was present time, but it sure felt like it.
Yeah. Well, you just added a whole series of books to my to be read list. Uh, for with that recommendation, I'll look those up. And you'd also talked about the fact that your books are shorter. Um,
Mm.
How many words are they? And is that something that you and your readers are comfortable with? Are you trying to make them even shorter, trying to make them longer?
It's not on purpose. The new book's about 250 pages. I don't know
Mm.
how many words that would be. And the cozies were about that length too. But of course, with cozies, you've got an amateur detective and not a very complicated plot normally. And if you drew it out much longer, your character would seem really stupid. So, that makes it shorter. But
That's an interesting perspective.
yeah, well, think about it.
Yeah,
You
makes sense.
can't draw that out too terribly long, or you start to wonder. Yeah, but the crime books, I do have to have more plot, but there's only so far I wanna take it, and nobody has complained about the length, so it's just what I have to do.
Yeah, I think everybody has a spot where their natural storytelling tendencies land them. Like,
Mhm,
my books end up being, like, 80 to 90,000 words, which ends
mm,
up, I guess, page count being, like, 350 pages or something like that, and that's
mhm.
just I do like putting in those descriptions. Maybe not the very first page, but I think that's what probably makes mine longer. Any other lessons you learned that you'd like to share with your fellow authors from Stranger Danger?
Well, I really don't know if it's a lesson, but what I was surprised by is how intense people are saying that it is. I was just telling what happened, I'm inside it, I'm doing it, and I'm Lauren. So I'm delighted to find that they think it's intense and nail biting and all the, suspenseful things that you would hope for. I was just telling my story,
Very interesting. Yeah, I guess it's very hard to anticipate how readers gonna react.
isn't
Yeah.
it?
So let's switch to the second question, which is, what did you learn from Stranger Danger that you'd like to share with your fellow readers?
Hmm. I'm not sure what I could say. Well,
Maybe what you had said about the reader experience being different than what you expected.
yeah. So when you're inside the book, you really are writing for yourself, which is what I guess I learned with the first Lauren Beck book and the one that got the finalist for the Indy Excellence Award. That one was a result of a low period where I had a couple of disappointments and I wasn't having any fun writing. So I thought, okay, I really need to get the fun back. How am I going to do this? So I thought, okay, I'm just going to write a book for me. I don't care whether anybody reads it. I'm not going to send it to an agent necessarily. Don't care. And that turned out to, do very, very well. And it also set me on the path of becoming independent because I had an agent at the time who was so horrible. I got him by accident. It was really crazy. He liked the book and he said he could sell it, but he didn't know anything about mysteries. He only had read 4, and he sent what turned out to be, for better or worse, to every mystery publication, publisher there was, and there was a major flaw in it. As a matter of fact, it didn't have a murder, and he didn't know. So I thought, I can't give him, you know, for What Doesn't Kill You, the first Lauren Beck book, because that had taken several years to get the new character in my head. So I fired him, and I thought, okay, I'll bring out What Doesn't Kill You myself because I didn't want to waste any more time. Turns out that I really love being independent. I have complete control of the quality, and because I was with St. Martin's Press, I know what it takes to look like the big guys. And I really like being in business for myself. I also don't write well with a deadline. I really like to be meticulous, and lines don't lend themselves to my best work. So that's what I've been doing for several books now and really enjoy it very much.
Have you found a trick to use that enables you to read your books as a reader would? Like, I know you said you were surprised at the reaction some of the readers were having with Stranger Danger. If you read a book later, can you read it more like a reader rather than as its creator?
Yes, I think so. You forget, the time goes by and it looks new. During my learning period, you know how they tell you to set things aside for a little while and look at it again? Well, I seem to do that again and again and again. And every time I laid eyes on it, I would fix it some more
Yeah.
until finally I got to the point where I would only change a word or two. And I
Yeah.
thought, okay, that's the best I can do. Send it out. And the finished book is usually like that too. St. Martin's Press did not edit my books very much. That was an interesting experience, but what their method was like they would take a new author and you'd think of putting a book in a bottle and throwing it in the ocean. And if it floated back to shore, they would help you. If it's, sank, they would just open the door to the next author. And yes, that was fine. And I got 7 books with them. But when I was done the 7th book, well, Ginger Barnes is May. That's my cozy character. And she's also sweet because when I started, my kids were in junior high and my husband was running a school, and I couldn't write anything too risque to embarrass people. So it was me, only even sweeter than I normally am. And I was tired of that. So one of my editors, I had 4, had said, I think you have to try a bigger book. First of all, I had to know, what is that? It meant a more global crime and more complex plot. And I thought, after the 7 books, wow, that sounds like fun. And that's a way to stretch and, just do something different. I'll come back to Jen, but I just wanted to change. Well, I fired my agent and I didn't, seek New York again for a little while because I knew that it would take time. And that's when I developed Lauren Beck. And would you like to know how I came upon her?
Sure.
I was with my husband at a Cornell football game. My husband broadcasts Penn football, and the booth is smaller than a closet. And the guys hang a microphone out the window to catch the crowd noise. And in December or November, whenever it is, it's cold. So the woman who ran the VIP booth next door invited me to sit with the Cornell VIPs. So I'm trying not to cheer too much for Penn and be unobtrusive, but some woman was talking about pumpkin pecan pie, and I thought, okay, I'd like that recipe. We started chatting, and it turns out she was older than me, but she had skydived 34 times. She fed sharks underwater from a cage. She begged to fly retired Air Force planes, the ones that were falling apart. Then she learned to fly them. Then she learned to fix them. And I thought, wow, this is the bravest woman I've ever met. Won't she make a great main character? Lauren Beck, right? No. The agent I had at the time said, that's not going to work. Why? I thought, she's so heroic. She's wonderful. What's wrong? She's too brave. When something exciting happens, she doesn't react, and neither will your reader. So I thought,
Interesting.
yeah, but
It's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So back to the drawing board. Carol, this woman that I was basing her on, had also been in and out of an iron lung for 9 years. And I thought, but she was cured. And I thought, okay, we'll give Lauren a major illness. She's been cured, but she still has baggage. She's only 30, by the way. And her fiance dumped her because she had cancer. He couldn't handle it. So she's got emotional stuff to deal with. She leaves the police force, of course, while she's ill. And now she's, various situations cause her to be kind of broke and homeless. So that's her thing. She's almost like Jack Reacher, only a woman who's kind of feeling her way to see what she's going to do with the rest of her life.
And it's a great backstory. It's also interesting from an author point of view to hear someone say, she's too brave. And at first I was cringing at that, but then when you explained further, I kind of understand where they were coming from.
Mhm.
That if the protagonist isn't experiencing the stress or the fear or the pressure of the situation, then the reader can't either. Very interesting.
A big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Donna, thank you so much for sharing your perspective on what you learned from Stranger Danger with your fellow authors and your fellow readers. Please let everyone know where they can go to find out more about you and Stranger Danger and everything else you do online.
Everything's published worldwide. If you look on my website, there's universal links. And if you just go where you usually buy books, I hope I'm there.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.